You don't normally always get to see the behind the scenes setup. So
원래는 이렇게 준비하는 기간을 보여드리고는 않고 그냥 바로 저희는 다 세팅이 돼 있고 시작을 하는데 어쩌다 보니 이렇게 되었습니다. 아담라파가 개인적으로 좀 완벽주의자셔가지고 모든 것이 세팅한 대로 되시길 바라시는 마음에 조금 시간도 걸리고 이렇게 좀 걸렸는데 모든 게 저희 오늘의 퍼포먼스를 위한 거라는 걸 알아주셨으면 감사하겠습니다. 아담라파가 아까 카페에서도 차를 주문할 때 이게 자기가 원하는 브랜드의 그러니까 콜롬비아산인지 뭐 자메이카산인지 그런 걸 여쭤보시더라고요. 조금 편집점에 가까운 그런 디테일을 좀 갖고 계셔서 그런 것도 지금 이렇게 세팅에 영향을 미치신다고 본인은 그렇게 생각하신대요.
And I take the same approach, obviously, when designing trumpets. You know, is the thickness of the lead pipe, should it be half a millimeter, 0.5 millimeters, 0.6, 0.55? It's like there's always those attentions to detail. And the result of that kind of mindset when you're designing stuff, instead of saying, oh, that's close enough, that's good, the customer is happy or whatever, going beyond that is one of the things that makes a big difference between Lotus and the rest of the instruments out there. So what we have here for you today is a small taste test of kind of the greatest hits of the mouthpieces and the greatest hits with the trumpets. Let me lay out what we've got here. So we have the classic model and the universal model. They are our variation on, say, a Bach 37. Have a geometry that makes them fit in very well with sections of of typical brands like Yamaha or Bach or whatever. Size of the sound, while it's more resonant than other brands, is still, it has a projection that is typical of other trumpets. We're aiming for these ones to play well with traditional horns. And the difference between the two of them is really just in the bell. The classic has a slightly thinner bell and it's one-piece yellow brass. The universal has a slightly thicker bell and also has a phosphor bronze flare. The color of the metal serves as a good analogy for the tone color. This one's a bit brighter, maybe a more yellow sound, if you imagine, and then this one is a little bit warmer and richer, probably closer to the autumn color of the phosphor bronze. So it really just depends on your personal preference of whether you like to have a slightly richer sound or a slightly brighter sound, which harmonics you like to hear as kind of the primary harmonics. Is it sh or s or sh? Whatever kind of sound you're looking for, that sounds like the right balance of harmonics for you, we can find that balance between these two horns. So these horns, our horns all come with 3 tuning slides, brass, bronze, and nickel silver. And that makes it so that even with one horn, you have a lot of options in terms of tone color. You can really change the way that the horn sounds and feels. And of course, there are many jazz players who play on these trumpets. But then the majority of the jazz players that come and that buy a Lotus end up buying something going with a model that has a bigger, more soloistic projection, a bigger bell. And we have 2 examples here. Both of them happen to have a 4th valve at the moment, but they come in 3 valves as well. But even if we don't have 4th valves, let's just forget that exists. We have 2 different models that are very popular among jazz soloists. Is a silver flare, which has a brass bell and then a pure silver flare. And the other one, which is a very popular model, is the solo model, which has a copper bell and a phosphor bronze flare. So copper is a very interesting metal because, often it's used for flugelhorn bells. It's very, very warm and sweet sounding. But also, when you really step on the gas on a trumpet, a copper bell can get extremely aggressive. In my opinion, an all copper bell gets so aggressive that it becomes ugly. For me, it's not a nice sound. Which is why we put the phosphor bronze flare on the end of it. That keeps the personality, keeps the bell a little bit more rigid instead of, so floppy where the sound starts getting, out of control. The phosphor bronze keeps it, locked in, centered, and sounding gorgeous when you play loud. The 4th valve, it's a rotor that we put just at the start of the bell. So we cut the bell shorter to make space for the rotor. So yeah, there's a trigger right here, so it's very, very easy to use your left thumb to play. So normally, obviously the job of a 4th valve is to give you lower notes. I'll actually start playing a little bit to give you an example. So now lotus trumpets have a very long third valve slide. So you can play a pedal F with even just the 3-valve trumpets, all of them. Now that's pretty useful for a lot of musical situations, but having a 4th valve means that you can go even lower and have more notes. For classical players, you'd be able to read all the music for clarinet, for instance, which goes down to pedal E. All right, so with just 2 more half steps than the trumpet normally has, you've got access to a rich world of music written for clarinet. So very easy to play Ds, C sharps. Really, it gets you down to pedal C sharp very easily. From a jazz player's perspective, you have the benefit of being able to play all the solos from alto saxophone, for instance. Alto sax goes to pedal E flat. Right? I mean, that's very useful. In general, all of these horns, even if they have a big sound, I focus a lot of attention on making them easy to play. So you get a big sound, but it doesn't cost you a lot of air or a lot of energy. A lot of other instruments that are the big solo instruments that have big bells also feel kind of like playing a didgeridoo or a baritone horn. They're just open, big horns and not as easy to play. The difference between the two horns, between, say, the classic and universal and the bigger horns, doesn't start until way down here in the bell. The bell stays the same. It's nice and narrow. It's the same bell as the classic and universal, but then here it starts getting nice and fat. So the result is that you get a bigger sound without feeling like it takes more air. That's the sound of the universal. So you see, it's just a bigger sound, and it's even more easy to tell in a bigger room. This is a small room, so it's very easy for me to fill this space. But in a large hall, you can really tell how much wider the sound is. It basically feels like playing the same horn. They take the same amount of air, but this one sounds like a bigger horn, you know. And then for the silver flare, it gets even fatter here, more fat than the solo model. So you get an even fatter sound. And the tone color is quite different because of the choice of materials. But they all feel really easy to play because they all start with the same very, narrow and traditional geometry here. Okay, so, and now with mouthpieces, I'll do a quick little introduction. So the sizes work like clothing. We have extra small to extra large. Our L cups are like, say, a Bach C cup, the most common size. And then extra large is like playing a Bach B cup. Our medium is like a Bach D. And then in most of the size categories, we have maybe 2 options. So like there's the L and the L2, the M and the M2. And so basically, they're always related to each other, but one is typically more aggressive or easily exciting, and the other one is maybe more rich and warm or smooth. And so for people who are a little bit afraid to change mouthpieces, It's very, very easy to change between the M and the M2 or the L and the L2, and they will give you a very different playing experience, but it feels the same on your face. So the L is a little smoother. The L2 has more punch more percussion to the articulations. L is more smooth. L2 is more percussive. But the entire time, it just feels like the same mouthpiece on your face. Traditional trumpets have many problems, many flaws that are, for me, unacceptable. You know, there's, for instance, on a trumpet, on traditional trumpets, the louder you play, the flatter the notes go. And the softer you play, the higher the pitch goes. Also, the more valves that you push down, the more resistance you feel. So inconsistency is a good word to describe what normal trumpets do. They're very inconsistent with pitch and with the feel of the notes. However, a lot of and there are still many other problems that actually are the fault of the mouthpiece, not the trumpet, where the intonation, the harmonic series are all compressed. All the notes are too close together. So the upper register is flat and the lower register is sharp. Also, a lot of mouthpieces are made in such a way that it creates a big limitation for projection. They don't make a very big sound by themselves, so there's not much sound for the trumpet to amplify. Of all of the problems that trumpet players have to deal with, all of the imperfections, the problems with the mouthpiece are worse. You know, that's the bigger problem. And that's good news for us, because the more important thing to buy is the cheap thing, not the expensive thing. If I had no choice, I had to perform on another trumpet, on another brand trumpet, but I could play a Lotus mouthpiece, it wouldn't be my most fun experience, but I would still sound like Adarmrapa, and it would still, I could do everything that I want to do. But if I had to play a Lotus trumpet and some other brand of mouthpiece, I wouldn't do it. It would not be fun, and it would not sound anywhere near as good. So basically, that's it. Now it's time for you to play. Time for you to try some things. All right. Who wants to go first?
어느 분이 제일 먼저 올라오실 건가요?
Don't be scared. This is a judgment-free zone.
First.
Hi. Nice to meet you. So, what kind of playing do you do?
I play jazz usually.
Excellent. And do you have you didn't bring your equipment?
You want me to bring?
Sure.
I mean, I'd like to try that Lotus mouthpiece.
Great. Sure. Which size do you play?
I play B2 Monet.
Okay, B2. There are some options.
Okay.
We don't make exactly like a B2, so we just find which one you like the most. Trumpet, do you want to play on one of these horns? Or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. What do you normally play?
Bunch of different things.
Okay.
That's a Yamaha.
Okay. Okay, so things are starting to work a little bit. So let's change the trumpet for one. Automatically a big improvement, right? You guys agree? Yeah, okay. What would you like to have more of in your sound or in your playing experience?
Maybe upper register.
We can definitely experiment with mouthpieces to find out if some mouthpiece inspires you to keep your lips open more when you go into the upper register. So one more time, play a quick part of that phrase.
Yeah.
And then we'll do A, B.
Okay.
Cool. Here's a 1L.
Yeah. Easier.
easier, but also a little brighter, right? Not
Yeah,
quite
right.
as warm. If you want the warmth, then we have a couple of ways of getting to that. Our 1L is, I would say, a much more balanced, well-rounded sound. You know, it's meant to also be exciting and warm enough, you know? So now what I've given him is the 1XL2, which is a deeper cup. Also not a big bowl, but just a deeper kind of V'd cup. So this will give him more warmth for sure. Okay. Same phrase. What do you feel?
It's wider, kind of comfortable. Than previous one.
Then the L.
Yeah,
okay. Is many times when people start on a high note, it starts very tight. And the higher the note, the tighter the body, or the tighter the lips. Your body isn't super flexed. You're mostly relaxed, but your aperture is very tight. So we need to do some kind of preparation to keep your aperture open from the very beginning. You know, if you feel like it's tight, then you know, get up there in a way that allows you to be open, and then do what you want to do. That's what you need to do in order to, that approach will make it more easy to understand the difference between one mouthpiece or another. You know, again, these instruments, they're amplifiers. They're not magical creatures, you know, so you have to give it something clean to amplify, something open. And when you're playing clean and open, then you can really appreciate what an amazing amplifier the instrument is. I think of the trumpet as an amplifier, and this is the instrument. It's a little different than, you know, normal, but it's more accurate. So it's an instrument. It's not a perfect instrument because, well, neither is a violin in that way, because you don't know exactly where the notes go. You have to put them there yourself. But everything is possible, you know, just on the mouthpiece. So then there's the question of, what does the instrument sound? How good does the instrument sound? Right. So what do you hear? What is the difference between these sounds?
Right.
You like this one, but why? For what quality do you like better?
Well, sound is clear and loudly.
The funny thing is, it's not a fair fight. This is a smaller diameter than his mouthpiece. So if I play the same diameter, it's even more obvious. So you see that there's a big difference in the maximum potential for sound. Which mouthpiece helps even more, and which mouthpieces are not helping. I want to try on your mouthpiece. It's been a long time since I played one of these. So the pitch on these mouthpieces is also compressed. So the upper register is too flat. And that's not fun. To just to play a mouthpiece where the notes are automatically in tune and you can just stay open, not use any tension. So,
yeah.
Thank you.
thank you. So, tell us, what is your name?
My name is 김홍범입니다. 예. 처음에 그 인더비넨 같은 이런 그 좋은 트럼펫을 한번 테스트해봤다가 또 친구 트럼펫 하시는 분의 권유를 통해서 로투스트럼펫을 하게 됐어요. 그래서 이 서울에 있는 그 목화악기 샵에서 이렇게 추천받아서 그 지금 현재 그 정민태 지점장님 통해서 그 유니버셜 모델을 샀는데 트럼펫을 뭐 여러 가지 기본 뭐 야마나 뭐 바도 불러보고 조금 좋다는 인더비넨 같은 트럼펫도 해봤는데 조금 더 울림, 이렇게 트럼펫 자체의 울림이나 소리가 이렇게 트럼펫 고유의 소리가 조금 더 오는 것 같아요. 그래서 좋은 것 같아요.
Wonderful. Do you play jazz, classical, both?
저는 트럼펫 지금 한 지가 2년이 좀 안 됐어요.
He's been playing less than 2
나이-
years.
근데 굉장히 짧은데 그냥 지금은 원래 재즈를 좋아해서 재즈를 연주하는 그런 밴드에서 그냥 합주 재밌게 하고 있습니다.
Wonderful. Well, when you're learning in the beginning, many times it's best to get on a good instrument as early as possible, because when you're learning in the beginning, that's when you're exploring for the first time and understanding, okay, this is how it works. Ooh, and this is what I need to do with my body. If you've been playing for many, many, many years, you don't even sometimes realize all the muscle memory that's been created to do it, to play an imperfect instrument. It's better to just start out on a nice instrument from the beginning so that you don't have to learn all the complicated things to correct for an imperfect instrument. I really appreciate that he got a really good trumpet to begin with, because so much of what trumpet players spend their time practicing is learning how to find a way in their body to compensate for imperfect gear, and that makes it such a harder job and a more complicated job. Starting out with a perfect instrument, as close to perfect as instruments get, is very helpful, because you're just in the high speed lane and there's no, you have to learn how to play in tune even when the instrument is flat, how to play, like all of the things that are problems with the mouthpiece and the instrument that we talked about earlier. It takes a lot of time to figure out how to do a good job in spite of all of those problems. So he doesn't have to worry about any of that. So his improvement can come much faster than usual. A lot of people think that it's hard to play the trumpet. It's not hard to play the trumpet. It's very easy to play the trumpet if you play it the easy way. And the easy way is hard to find if you're playing on bad gear, because then all of those handicaps that are the problems of the instrument, those make it much, much more difficult to just focus on playing an easy way. Everything that hurts our range and hurts our endurance, all those things are typically, they're things that people are doing because of the problems of the gear. You need to use more tension. They need to do make these physical sacrifices to play in tune. And those are the same things that hurt our endurance and our range. The first thing we have to do is try to avoid their muscle memory and find a new way to do something, because they're already accustomed to working way too hard, flexing too many muscles, doing too many movements, all that stuff. I'm trying to help them get back to a simpler way of approaching the instrument. And he doesn't have to worry about any of that. There's no old muscle memory to get around, to avoid. So it makes a really big difference. Normally, when I work with beginners, they're much younger, and I've seen very good success. When you give a beginner a real instrument, and there are no problems to navigate, they can get so good very fast. And maybe in his case, it's even better because he has a more developed mind. As an adult, we have a perspective, like there's no time to waste, So the combination of his adult mind and the no roadblocks, straight shot towards mastery, he stands a very good chance of playing very well very soon. So, what are you playing on right now?
지금 어떤 걸로 연주하고 계시죠?
마우스피스 브랜드가 어떻게 되시죠?
야마하 15E4.
Ah, so like our XL cup. Play a little something on your mouthpiece. Play some music. Lovely. Now go to a part where it goes a little bit higher. Oh, nice. Yeah, you're a good player. And notice he's using alternate fingerings on those higher notes to make them in tune, because by nature the mouthpiece is not in tune. So really good attention to detail. Okay? Well, let's try on this. What do you guys think? Yeah? Everybody's heads are going up and down. I wish I had the camera on you. Play the higher part. How does that feel on your face?
닿는 느낌 10점.
네.
다 좋은.
전부 다 10점? All for the 10. For three categories, all for the 10.
So maybe now go back and forth between your mouthpiece and this mouthpiece. Play the same phrase, and so we can hear very, very quickly the A and B. It could be the same phrase if you like. Okay. Sounds wonderful. How do you feel?
좀 더 편한 느낌으로 불리는 것 같아요. 원래 야마하 마우스피스를 썼을 때 조금 주력적인 면으로 조금 빨리 지치는 느낌이어서 올해는 못 썼던 것 같은데 이거는 계속 쓸 수 있을 것 같아요.
Now you're doing a really, really good job of playing this mouthpiece, because when you play it, it sounds like you're in tune in the upper register. But that shows how hard you're working. You know, it's hard work to make this mouthpiece sound in tune. So congratulations, you're a warrior. But my job is to make it so you don't have to be, so that you can just be a lazy guy and still sound in tune. So one more, if you'll indulge me. Can we hear you play the same phrase on your trumpet and on one of the Lotus trumpets? Please.
네, 먼저 기존에 사용하시는 바하 악기로 먼저 테스트를 해보고 로투스 악기로 해보고 이렇게 차이점을 한번 느껴보도록 하겠습니다.
Wow, you're getting even more and more comfortable, right? Okay. Yeah, man, even in this small room, you can tell the difference. That sounds great. Man, you're a machine. You're playing the phrase over and over again. Mwah, beautifully. Thank you. You're a great play tester. So, what is the difference that you feel between the horns?
약간 조금 음정마다 얘는 좀 제가 잡아야 하는 느낌인데 로투스는 불어보니까 그냥 불면 잘 잡히는 것 같아서.
Like I said earlier, traditional trumpets are very uneven, but from note to note. And once you get onto an instrument where everything is even, it's like playing piano, then all of your attention can go on to music, playing musically. What would I like to do? How would I like to play with these, be more musical, instead of thinking, oh, how do I fix this one and move this one and do that? We can just focus all our energy on being expressive. Any of your favorite concertos or something, Really, really nice. How does that feel for you?
완전 잘 잡아주는 것 같아요. 음들마다.
Excellent. So, wow, that's wonderful. I'm excited to hear more from you in the years to come. Tell us your name.
성함 한 번만.
백도영입니다.
How old are you?
18?
Oh, you little shit. you little bastard. Well, that's great. So 2XL3. I don't know if these guys have any, but you can certainly order them.
Yes, yes.
This is a wonderful mouthpiece, both for jazz and classical. I'm playing this one's mine. It's why and it's a big. I think it's an improvement over our other extra large options. Awesome. Thank you.
감사합니다.
Is that all the time we've got?